Hi, friends. It's Brittany Valadez here for BravelyDaily.com. Thank you so much for joining me for my chat with actress Mackenzie Mauzy. Mackenzie is the star of the new film Sun Moon. Now, you guys, this film is so adorable, and I'm gonna say probably one of the best that Pure Flix actually has put out. I loved it. But before we get into my chat with Mackenzie, and of course, before you check out the film, make sure you guys are giving this video a thumbs up, and of course, share with all your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified each time that I upload a new video to this channel. Make sure you guys are following me on social media. I will put all of that in the description box below. All right, let's get into this interview. Mackenzie, first of all, I really, really loved the movie. It is so cute. And actually, yeah, so okay, before I go into the rest of the stuff, can you give our audience a little bit of a background of the movie and what role you play?
So I play Kelsey. She, at the beginning of the movie, has just been left at the altar and is numb and kind of like, what in the world is my life now? And gets an opportunity to teach English to students in Taiwan, and kind of takes this leap of faith to figure out like what is her life now and what is her purpose, and even like redefine her relationship with God. And I think it just exceeds her expectations in terms of how she feels about the place itself and the people that she meets and the relationships that she develops. And I think it also gives her like a healthier perspective on her life at home and her relationship with her sister and everything that kind of happens in the end.
Yeah, and okay, I'm assuming you guys actually went to Taiwan for the filming.
Yes.
Tell us
Yeah.
about how that experience was.
So awesome. It was, we filmed the stuff that's domestic in the movie in Nashville in 2021. And then our visas were revoked because they shut down the island. And so it was always it was this waiting period that was about 7 months. And we weren't sure if, if I was gonna be like 40 something by the time I obviously not, but like, we didn't know how long it would take. But about 7 months later, we got a special exception visa, and we quarantined for 2 weeks in hotel rooms. And that was a commitment. I'm an introvert, but that was pushing it. And then we got out. It was a zero COVID policy in Taiwan, which basically means meant that once we got out of quarantine, there was like no COVID in the country, and we still had to like follow all of the rules and send in our temperature and like, weird things. But in general, once we were out of quarantine, we were there. And that ride in the car from Taipei up through the mountains to Sun Moon Lake was stunning. And it's not just because I was locked up for 2 weeks, but just the mountains and the sort of fog over everything. And then you descend into this area where there's this beautiful, like, I don't know, Mediterranean blue lake and palm trees, and there are all these epic mountains around. And Sydney, the director, her parents actually lived there, and they had an extra scooter. So once I had my lessons, they let me borrow the scooter for my time there. And so I really got to pretend that I lived there, even though I didn't speak the language, but I learned a couple words that helped me, buy food and stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And okay, we're gonna go back to quarantine really quick. So
Okay.
did you literally have to just stay in your room? And how did you get to interact with the crew? And how did you eat? Like, what's that experience?
So not in person. So we were all in our own rooms. I feel a little spoiled, but like I got a balcony, which I feel so thankful for, because it just meant that I could get some fresh air. Some of the crew had like bars on their windows, and they couldn't even like push the windows out. They could like open them a little bit and get some fresh air, which I obviously like probably could have handled it, but I don't feel like I could have. They did. I guess you just adapt to your environment, I guess. But we did like some of the crew were doing like yoga Zooms in the mornings, and we would have like dinner catch-ups, like if you wanted to jump on Zoom around dinner time because they deliver food to everyone at the same time. We would do like, Zoom dinners. So there was that. And I had my guitar, and I had, like the Peloton app. So I was doing like weird body weight exercises and just trying to trying to keep my mind believing that like we were still, I don't know, somewhat active, I guess, just keep my blood flowing and not get too claustrophobic.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that sort of situation, like you said, could mess with people, like cause claustrophobia or
Yeah.
also cause
It
people to have anxiety.
it could. I mean, I think that I ended up writing a lot and reading a lot. And so in some ways it was good, but you have to be careful with your mind. I think like there was one day where I woke up in the middle of the night and there was smoke in my room and it smelled like fire. And I couldn't figure out what, like I looked, there was actually fire in the hallway. And I didn't have Justin, my co-star whose family actually lives in Taiwan. I Instagram messaged him and was like, hey, do you know what's going on? And finally I just called downstairs because I was thinking like, am I gonna get arrested if I have to like jump out of my my balcony and like somehow get out of this building? Like, is the building on fire? What's happening? And apparently something just caught on fire, you know, a couple blocks away, and they'd put it out. But because all that smoke after you put out a fire was just getting into the building, and the hotel room next to mine was under construction. So the door was open. So it was letting the smoke into the hallway. So anyway, and you know, you're kind of half asleep. So you're just delirious anyway. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. Do I get arrested by the Taiwanese government for escaping quarantine, or do I? Anyway.
I mean, that's a very real fear. I feel like if I was in a situation, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be calling my mom or like very real fear.
And that was the day I came a day later than the rest of the crew that traveled. And so they had already left. So that was like the night that I was there by myself.
Oh,
So,
it's like
anyway,
to make matters worse, but
I couldn't just like,
no.
Ultimately everything was fine. No one, you know, there was no fire damage, and, you know, everything was fine.
And seriously, you guys made such a cute film. Okay, so when I got the trailer for the film, I was so excited and I sent it to a friend right away because her and I go on mission trips. We actually went to Honduras last year. And
oh yeah?
Yeah, and we went to study at a Spanish school, and then I work for a mission organization as well. She is an ESL teacher. So she was watching it, she's like, oh, Brittany, I can relate to all of that.
Oh, wow, that's awesome to hear. I think I just watched it last night and I got a little emotional just because it was such a journey to create this thing, and I'm just really proud of everyone who's a part of it. We had a whole different Taiwanese crew in Taiwan, and then we had like the Nashville crew, and then some of like I think it was 5 or 6 of us that came over from Nashville. But they're essentially two different crews, and just a lot of love went into this movie. And also Sydney, the director, will say it's a love letter to Taiwan in general, because she spent a lot of time there in her life. And so with everything that's going on politically, I think it's just nice to really have a spotlight on the country in general, or island.
Absolutely. And I really love the dynamic. The kids were hilarious. I mean, I don't know who went and found their perfect actors, but they literally found the perfect actors.
I know.
You
And these actors were like, they look so young. I don't know if I should actually say this, but like they were close to my age, most of them, but they look like 13, 14-year-olds. But they were so mature and like way more professional than me. And so good. Some of them like broke my heart, and some of them made me laugh. And they were just, I mean, it was just really cool. We kind of became friends, and we would all go out to dinner on occasion. And that night market scene was really fun because we were actually at a night market, and they were actually chasing me with like raw squid on a stick. And so it created relationships also with the crew that I think in some capacity will have forever. And I think it was just really special. Like, I don't know if I would have ever gone to Taiwan otherwise, or at least had the opportunity during lockdown, which was another really special part. So
absolutely. And when you were over there, other than your first experience with COVID, did you have any I guess culture shock or see anything different, and either something you didn't like or did like what was your experience like over there?
so we were staying in this like health retreat place I think people go there after surgeries just to kind of, or you know, harder surgeries for like PT to recover. And it was like vegetarian and really holistic and in the mountains and beautiful. But the nearest town was a very tiny rural town that was like the black tea capital of Taiwan. Super cool. But all the little restaurants and everything, like I don't speak the language. I started to try to learn parts of it from the crew. And Sydney, the director, her parents actually live in that town because they teach at that school. I think her dad runs a department there. And she worked there for a while. So she was very instrumental in showing me, like, go to this restaurant, don't go to that restaurant. Like, she took me on the scooter to show me where the grocery store was. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but her parents actually gave me a scooter to use while I was there, which was great because then once I learned how to drive it, I could take myself up to the lake, and I could, there was a Starbucks up there randomly, the nicest Starbucks I've literally ever seen. And I'm kind of a coffee snob and I like to make coffee here or whatever, but really good. And it was on the lake, and there was this back patio, which is apparently where Sydney wrote this script. But there were definitely I definitely embarrassed myself, like without even knowing how, but trying to communicate with people at checkout at the grocery store or ordering things in restaurants. Like, I was definitely, people laughed at me because I know I said something I didn't mean to. But in general, like, a lot of our crew was trying to like learn English, or they knew English, but trying to like test their English on me. And then I was trying to learn from them as much as I could. So completely different culture, different food. But I love that. I love being out of my element and just not understanding something. I want to learn about other cultures and other languages. And that felt really special. Like I kind of convinced myself into believing that I was like a local on my little scooter going to
I actually can relate to. I enjoy doing that too. I love adventure. So I'm like, yes, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And, I feel like, watching the movie, it was so cute. And I think that, like I said, you did a great job, and the chemistry was there with your co-star, and then with the kids too. Oh, so funny. Like, what is your process as an actress for you to prepare for your role? Like, what do you do specifically? Because I know every actor or actress has their own thing to get into the mindset of their character. How do you roll?
Yeah. So one of my favorite acting teachers talked a lot about daydreaming and daydreaming as the character. So I did a lot of that during quarantine, like just imagining, like it's creating an emotional life around the character that the script is not necessarily in the script. Like, what's her favorite color? What's her favorite experience with her mom? What are her memories of with her ex? Like, where did she think they were going to move? And just creating that kind of thought space. And then just, trying to do the work in terms of memorizing to the point where I can really let it go and be in the moment. And I think, like traditional acting stuff in terms of just like understanding what my character wants in every scene and just trying to portray that. But at the end of the day, for me, it's getting out of my own way and trying to let Kelsey's story come through. Not that experiences that I have had in my life don't help, like understanding heartbreak and loss and those things. But at the end of the day, it's like a professional form of make-believe,
Yeah. And you had mentioned something I was going to touch on. I was like, I feel like all of us as women have had horror stories at different levels of past heartbreak, and also good stories with people that we've been with in the past. So were you able to pull from maybe both the good and the bad for the contrasting relationships that you did have in the film?
Yes. So I just got married last year in October. Was like, before I met him, I was just at the point where I was like, I think I just have to be okay with being single forever, because I can't imagine who this, like my sister and my brother are both younger. They were having kids. They had the house. They had the whole life that was going. And I just felt like I wasn't where I should be at that age. And just kind of had to let go of that expectation for myself in a way. And then I met my current husband to the point where I was a little bit like, this can't be like, this is not going to work for all these reasons that don't seem like they're true, but this can't work. And it did. So in terms of good relationships, yes, it's like, easy in ways that I've never experienced. And definitely in terms of like heartbreaking relationships and relationships that, you invest in and feel like are going in one way and really let you down. And then like I've had loss in my life, like pretty people who have passed too soon. And so just having those kind of emotional experiences just as a part of me, like I did think about them a little bit in quarantine just to remind myself of what that feels like. But at the end of the day, just trying to put myself into Kelsey and think about the person who left her and just understanding those emotions through her lens.
I love love stories. How did you guys meet, and like how did you know that he was the one?
Oh my goodness. So it's kind of embarrassing. Like I went through a breakup and it was COVID and my friends were all trying to get me on this app. And I was like, this works for you guys. It does not work for me. I'm gonna need to meet someone in person. I don't trust men. Like I need to like know someone through someone or meet someone work-wise. Like there is no way I'm going to actually like want to be with, I just didn't believe in it, but I downloaded the thing. For 1 month you have to pay. It's called Raya. It's kind of ridiculous, but
Heard of it,
he was on there in a similar situation. One of his friends was over New Year's and was like, just do it for 1 month, just see what's out there. You're not meeting people. Anyway, we kind of connected over that, but I still was sort of like, this is not going to be a real thing. Like, we're not going to actually, I'm not interested in like casually dating. And that's not what he wanted either. But I just didn't think that you could meet someone with it, or that I would meet someone that with a deep relationship on an app. But he just kept asking me all these really deep personal questions. And I was kind of like, you don't know me like that. Like, well, this is an app, like you can't. And I didn't say that, but I just wasn't responding very quickly. And I guess it was, he decided to get off of the app, but gave me his number in case I ever wanted to like go on a hike or I think he said that, or like have lunch or something. And I was home visiting my family over the holidays, and he is in Atlanta and I was living in California at the time. So we ended up connecting on FaceTime. And ultimately after that one FaceTime, we FaceTimed like every night for 3 weeks, and I kept pushing back my flight to California, and eventually he drove up to North Carolina, and we actually got snowed in to my grandparents' house in the North Carolina. And it's not a joke. Like it's not like fake snowed in where we were being like cute and actually wanted to spend time together. Like they live on the top of the mountain and our cars were snowed in. So what was supposed to be just like, we were going to go on a walk, like in that neighborhood and maybe have dinner, and then he was going to drive back, turned into 3 nights of just like getting to know each other in like a safe environment, but they could have been a disaster. But after that, it was, I never felt so connected to someone, and it was just so easy, and it happened so organically. And then I just kept delaying my flight to California and delaying my flight to California. And then eventually I flew back and he came and visited, and it was just back and forth for a while. But he proposed like 6 months after we met, which was crazy for me. But also I knew that it was right. And I just think I just saw so many parts of myself that I would have never taken those kinds of risks or been open to meeting someone's parents in 6 months, let alone saying yes to an engagement. But I think it was just such a surprising way that God worked through something that I thought was like kind of ridiculous and would never happen. He ended up, really surprising me. So.
No, it's amazing. And I know how God works definitely in ways that we don't expect. Our life is not usually how we expect. We try to orchestrate. God's like, no, I've got this. And I think in your case, it seemed very obvious that he was intentional from the beginning by getting off the app to show you that I'm not here to just check out random girls and then I'm going to give you my number. And I think that's what it probably showed you, that he was serious about it and intentional. And usually if a man proposes within 6 months or something like that, like they already know, like they know. And I think that a lot of men don't realize that women like to feel safe. If we can feel safe and protected, like you're
Yeah.
guarding your heart, oh man, then you
Yeah.
have been able to break down those walls. Yeah.
Yeah, it was I've never dated anyone like him. That's his office back there. He's not actually here. But I never dated anyone like him or actually known someone like him. He's like really confident and knows what he wants, but also so humble. And I think when men present as confident, generally there's like a huge ego attached to that, at least in my experience. And so that it was just surprising. And with the humility came like deep respect for me and wanting me to know that he was choosing me and he was all in, but I could take my time and he didn't want to freak me out, you know.
Mackenzie, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I love your love story. It's so cute. And of course, I'm going to encourage all my viewers to check out Sun Moon. You guys viewers, make sure you're checking out Sun Moon on Pure Flix. Friends, I have a question for you. Have you ever been to a new country and maybe experienced any cultural differences, cultural shock? Yeah, tell me in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm Brittany Valadez for BravelyDaily.com. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.